Establishing the facts of the resurrection is important. So, fact number 1, Jesus indeed died on the cross. After his death, Joseph of Arimathea went to Pontius Pilate and asked to take Jesus' body to bury it in his own tomb. That fact is recorded in all 4 Gospels. This was a new tomb, a rich man's tomb, which fulfills the prophecy in Isaiah 53. And the Apostle John adds that Nicodemus went with Joseph of Arimathea. And that fact is worth taking in, because when Nicodemus first came to Jesus, he was highly skeptical of Jesus, but he was willing to ask questions. Now, that very same man is helping with the burial of Jesus, while the rest of Jesus' disciples cowered together in a locked room. Nicodemus brought with him 75 pounds worth of myrrh and aloes in order to prepare Jesus' body for burial, but this was something that had to happen somewhat quickly. Jesus died at 3 in the afternoon, and for Joseph and Nicodemus to be able to honor the Sabbath, they needed Jesus to be buried by 6 p.m. So, they take him to Joseph's tomb, and those two laid him to rest. But they weren't the only witnesses to this. The women who saw Jesus die were there too. We are told that Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, were there. And Luke says that the women from Galilee were there too, so there might have been more. So at least 4 people saw exactly where Jesus was laid, and the women took note because they had plans to come back and give Jesus' body a proper burial where they could honor him in the way they wanted to. But they couldn't do that until after the Sabbath. Meanwhile, on Saturday, on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders went to Pilate because they remembered what Jesus had predicted, that he would be raised from the dead on the 3rd day. They urged Pilate to do something about it, which led to the tomb being sealed and a guard being placed in front of the tomb. Now, Pilate allowed the Jewish leaders to secure the tomb in that way. Now, the seal that they talk about there was likely something that would indicate if the tomb had been tampered with or not, and the guard would have been a highly capable Roman military guard. In fact, based on the results after the resurrection, it seems like there was more than one guard there. All of this shows us that there were witnesses that could attest to the location of Jesus' dead body on Friday and Saturday. And some of those witnesses were believers, but some of those witnesses were enemies. And the point is, Jesus was in the tomb, and the tomb was safeguarded. Yet, when the women showed up to the tomb on Sunday morning, the stone was rolled away. The guards had run away to tell the Jewish leaders what had happened, and an angel was sitting on the entrance stone. And that angel tells the women, Jesus is not here, he is risen. The women at that moment experienced a range of emotions: confusion, fear, joy, all of which are perfectly reasonable reactions in response to what they had just seen. And the women obey the angel. They go and tell the 11 disciples that Jesus was not in the tomb. Now, Peter and John, they hear about the empty tomb, and it seems like nonsense to them, like it did to the rest of the disciples. They were skeptical. But Peter and John take off for the tomb anyways, and when they get there, they find it empty as well. Now, John believed that Jesus had risen, but Peter was still unsure what had happened. He was confused. So here's what we find. Jesus was certainly laid in Joseph of Arimathea's tomb on Friday. The tomb was secured and well guarded until Sunday morning, when Jesus rose from the dead. The guards are afraid at the empty tomb. The Jewish leaders are planning an alternate story. The women have a range of reactions. Peter is skeptical, and John believes. The empty tomb itself is just part of the resurrection account, and it convinces only John, and likely some of the women, of Jesus' resurrection. But those who were confused or skeptical would soon come to believe this with all of their heart, In fact, it would become a fact that they are willing to stake their lives on, and many of them did. They would be convinced by the appearances of Jesus, which we'll speak about in our next video. Join us then.